we are back for round 2 of Modern Magic the Gathering at GameSwap in Mason, Ohio, brought to you by Top Deck Productions, streaming on Twitch TV. And we have an exciting matchup for you today in round 2. Ryan Kurz will be playing 4-colored Death Shadow, a slight deviation from his typical traditional Jund build that he's very fond of. And Ted Dwyer, who it says Abzan company, I believe. Can we get a confirmation? Is he playing Counters company?
Yeah,
like
the new company deck playing the Devoted Druid Vizier of Remedies combo. Okay, so
all the combos.
Ted
okay.
is playing a combo focused, so he may also have the Malira combo in his deck.
He may also have Archangel of Thune,
right?
Spike Feeder.
Spike Feeder combo.
He might also have Kiki Jiki Restoration Agent. No, probably not.
Yeah, he's on Abzan, it says, so probably no Kikis or Deceiver Exarchs here.
So I don't know if all the combos is a correct description there. I mean, if I don't see Scape Shift Valakut in here, I'm gonna be pretty upset.
So this Counters Company deck has really been making waves in big Modern tournaments lately. It was heavily played at the recent GPs. And
yeah, it has. It's a good deck. I will say, one thing I personally dislike about the deck is I think it, and I haven't actually personally played against it yet, but my guess is that this new sort of predominant variant on Company does not do the mid-range grind quite as well as some past Chord Company style creature decks. And one of those would be most of the deck lists I've seen for this Counters Company deck are not running Voice of Resurgence. I've even heard people talk about cutting Kitchen Finks and Viserys here combo and Malira all together and just playing
the infinite mana combo.
Right, which I think is a fine, viable strategy. But I will say that this deck, most of the lists I've seen, don't quite have the mid-rangey value game that a lot of players play the deck for.
The Counters Company deck has been playing Duskwatch Recruiters so that they can find their Walking Ballista once they make infinite mana, because Walking Ballista is, of course, one of the win conditions from Aether Revolt now that allows this deck to win with a creature. You can make an infinitely big Walking Ballista once you have generated infinite mana and then use that to kill your opponent.
Yep.
Duskwatch Recruiter there because its activated ability lets you search your top 3 cards, but if you have infinite mana, of course, you can do that as many times as you want until you find your Walking Ballista.
Yeah, the strange thing about this deck so far, and I think it's still working on finding the best permutation of cards to abuse with Vizier of Remedies and Devoted Druid. The unfortunate thing about Walking Ballista is it's a horrible card with Collected Company,
right?
And it's a non-target for Chord of Calling,
right?
Unless you want to try to turn on Delirium or something. But Collected Company, if you company into a Walking Ballista, it's going to go straight to your graveyard.
Yeah,
so
not where you want to be.
So there are a lot of things you can do with this mana. One neat thing I've seen is people are playing the new Snake God, Ronus the Indomitable.
Right, to make an infinitely large creature.
And they can make, you can use that pump ability any number of times. And of course, he's not a bad creature that you can find off of Collected Company.
So it looks like Ted has mulliganed to 6 here. Looking at his hand, he's got a couple Chords, a couple lands. He's going to keep it. Okay.
And I can't tell what Ryan's sitting on exactly. It looks like a Liliana of the Veil on the far right there. That card can be hit or miss in this matchup. It doesn't exactly work super well against a go-wide strategy, but can also take cards out of Ted's hand pretty effectively. And Ted is playing a deck that does sometimes need to have cards in hand.
So Ted has led on Noble Hierarch, and Ryan has now used a Mishra's Bauble and cycled to Street Wraith. And then fetch shot Thoughtseize. So his life total is nice and low here on turn 1. Prime for setting up his Death Shadows. See what he takes with Thoughtseize. The only legal target was a Chord, which Ted had 2 of, so one of those will be going to the graveyard.
Yeah, Ted does not have a lot to work with here. 3 lands, a hierarch, and a chord will not do all that much for you. So hopefully he can draw into something that's relevant. If he could find a kitchen finks, that would be a nice way to get on the board. But looks like he's not done that. He's going to use that hierarch to get in for 1.
Interestingly, attacking for 1 there does allow Ryan now to play his Death Shadows, as previously they would have died, but now they can come in as 1/1s.
Very true, very true. Ryan will take himself to 10.
And another Thoughtseize.
Take himself to 8.
So Ted has drawn what a
Tarfire. Okay, so looks like Ryan's playing a Tarmogoyf variant of Death Shadow here. And my guess is that he's skipping out on the blue, but I'm not certain about that.
Actually, I think he has a Stubborn Denial in hand.
Okay, so he's skipping out on the white. He's got
yes.
no Lingering Souls for this Death Shadow.
So there's a Tarmogoyf, going to be pretty huge here.
I think that's at least 6/7, right? Because he's got Instant with the Chord, he's got Tarfire, Tribal, Creature, Land.
And Artifact with Mishra's
And the Artifact with the Bauble, yeah.
Right. So that is quite the threat here. Ted still has drawn quite a few lands, it looks like. He may have 1 non-land in hand. But this draw not really shaping what he wants to be. The double discard taking all his action. Tarfire taking out his Hierarch. He's going to need to catch up quick here. Of course, this deck can essentially win out of nowhere. You only need 2 cards to make infinite mana.
Yeah,
and of course you need something to do with that.
Ryan's deck, of course, does not have a way to win through infinite life, like most decks in Modern. So Ted certainly has... Fiend Hunter's not bad. Of course, Fiend Hunter could eat a Fatal Push right now off of Ryan if he cracks that Verdant Catacombs.
Right, Fiend Hunter being 3 converted mana cost, but with Revolt, Fatal Push, can take care of that.
So it looks like Ryan will fetch to 7.
And we'll see if he has the Fatal Push.
Not the Fatal Push, not yet anyway, but I think if he had it, he would have almost certainly used it there because he had the Revolt procced for him.
Right, so likely he does not have that in hand currently. Even a Bolt, though, can take out this Fiend Hunter, which is a 1/3. Oh, but he has Liliana, so that... We may see Liliana come to make Ted sacrifice a creature, and since his only creature is a Fiend Hunter, that, of course, would get the Tarmogoyf back.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Fiend Hunter in Modern. Yep, there's the Liliana. We'll see it sack, get the Tarmogoyf back.
Well, Fiend Hunter maybe is not a great choice in some decks, but being able to tutor up with Chord and hit off Collected Company makes it somewhat decent removal option.
True, though. I think that Fiend Hunter really works best in a deck that has Flicker Whiffs and Restoration Angels, because then you can get the whole double stacking the triggers value out of Fiend Hunter. But unless Ted has Restoration Angel, which I'm doubtful that he does, I think I'd prefer just having paths in the main board. Maybe Ted does have paths, but tough to know.
So Ted played a Vizier, which got Fatal Pushed, and now he has a Birds of Paradise out, but he is...
I think you block with that bird.
No, he opts not to.
Oh, I think he got a block with that bird there.
Okay.
Well, now he can block with the bird and sack the bird to scry 1.
I believe that the
which is not
can
terrible.
also sacrifice itself.
It can.
So that... Oh.
But I think he's gonna
make Ted sacrifice a creature, which leaves him only the Sirasir. He is going to sack and scry. Leaves it on top. We'll see if he can get out of this. He needs to find a removal spell for Tarmogoyf pretty soon. Well, this turn, of course. He found a Collected Company. Okay. Ooh.
Stubborn Denial. That's a good one.
Yeah, Stubborn Denial, of course, he did have Ferocious active, so it was basically just a hard counter for a non-creature spell there, and that is going to do it for game 1.
Yeah, so Ryan's game plan is already fairly good against this company deck, but not great. A key card for Ted here is Eternal Witness. Eternal Witness is going to really devalue a lot of those Inquisition and Thoughtseize draws that Ryan wants to have. Out of the sideboard, I'm not exactly sure what Ryan has that he needs, but I'm not sure he needs much. I do think this matchup is generally pretty good for Ryan, especially when Ted's deck is probably not running Voice of Resurgence. Voice of Resurgence is actually a pretty good card against Death Shadow decks. It's 2 blockers, and that voice token can very easily go on the offensive in these decks that have a lot of creatures. In fact, sometimes it can even get just as big as a Death Shadow, but I'm doubtful that Ted has access to Voice of Resurgence right now.
Right, and we wonder what Ted's main deck is looking like. He may not even have Pat's main deck. Coco decks tend to play only maybe one playset of non-creature cards, so he could have those in the board, or at least additional copies in the board. Other things in his board, I don't know if this deck plays Blessed Alliance, but that's of course quite good against Death Shadow since they usually have 1 threat.
Yeah, one very powerful synergy that Ted does have access to is Eternal Witness plus Path. That right there is a pretty good way to get a lot of value, you know, from your cards against these Death Shadow decks that don't have all that many threats. If Ted can Path a Death Shadow, play an Eternal Witness, get his Path back,
hit the next threat.
Hit the net. Yeah, he's in pretty good shape. It's also possible that Ted Dwyer has something like Aven Mind Sensor coming out of the sideboard.
Right.
Aven Mind Sensor can keep Ryan. For one, it can blow up his fetch lands, but it can also stop Ryan's Traverse the Ulvenwald, which, generally speaking, a deck like Ryan's really needs to have that Traverse the Ulvenwald.
Right. And you need to be able to get your threats.
Yeah. If you get your 1 Death Shadow Path, it could be a while till you find another one without Traverse, and of course, Aven Mind Sensor, preventing your opponent from searching their library except for the top 4 cards, can really put a damper on Traverse the Ulvenwald strategies. So what do you think Ryan could have coming in?
Honestly, he probably has some way to stop the combo from happening, perhaps like a Grafdigger's Cage.
Grafdigger's Cage, that's definitely a possibility.
He could also have some graveyard interaction. That'll stop infinite life gain combo, as when the Kitchen Finks goes to the graveyard. If he's able to exile it then, that would prevent it from returning.
I wonder if Ryan has some sort of low to the ground sweeper like Anger of the Gods, but I kind of doubt it, actually.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if Death Shadow decks tend to play sweepers on their end. It's possible, but
I don't know. Even paying for double red can be a little bit tough in a deck like Ryan's, where the mana base is made up of only so many shock lands, and Ryan certainly does not have a basic mountain. So paying for double red can be tough.
He could have perhaps a Pyroclasm if he does have a board wipe.
Possibility. That would be a good one to play.
Because that takes out almost all the threats from Ted's end. They only have 1 or 2 toughness.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Ryan to be playing a Bonfire of the Damned, but that's maybe not where you want to be either. I will say, I know that Ryan is not playing it, but probably the best answer to a deck like Ted's is a Linvala, Keeper of Silence. In fact, I would guess that Ted is actually playing one of those in his sideboard for the mirror matchup and other similar decks. Hating on your opponent's activated abilities really shuts down a deck like these creature toolbox lists. There are some other similar cards that are just as good. One of them being Suppression Field, which can stop a lot of these creature toolbox decks. Harsh Mentor is a new one that we haven't quite seen make its way into Modern yet, but is not a terrible card out of the sideboard for burn, because it stops your opponents like Counters Company from doing much at all.
Interestingly, you can make infinite mana through the Harsh Mentor because it is a mana ability which would not be impacted.
That's true. So
it looks like both players kept 7 here. Ryan probably leading on a traditional, Fetch Shock Thoughtseize.
Looks like so. Ryan will Lava Axe himself in the face. Gasali Pride Mage.
Oh no, he actually only took 3 there. He did not opt to get a shock land.
Got a basic swamp. Interesting.
So Ted again on a very land-heavy hand. He only has 1 more creature now and 3 lands.
So I wonder what that getting a basic swamp tells Ted about Ryan's game plan. my first thought would be Ryan has 4 shock lands in hand, but maybe he's just playing conservatively with his life total, or he has other ways to tank his life in hand, so he doesn't need to drop his life so quickly, so fast. Duskwatch Recruiter is the play for Ted. One of the key combo pieces for this deck. It gives you an outlet for all that infinite mana to draw your deck.
Yeah, the best being, I see what you mean there. So you would not be able to untap the Druid through a Harsh Mentor, because every time you need to untap it, you have to remove a counter. Is that what you're saying?
I hadn't been following the chat, so...
So I mentioned how Harsh Mentor possibly wouldn't stop the infinite mana combo because it doesn't affect mana abilities, but to untap the infinite mana Druid, that may be an activated ability there.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, that's right. That's not a mana ability. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah,
so Harsh Mentor would be here. It's unlikely Ryan has that, but in general, maybe if you're playing Modern and you have a burn deck and this type of deck is popular in your meta, Harsh Mentor could be a good option to set it back. So here Ted has deployed a Qasali Pride Mage as well as a Spellskite. Spellskite, pretty good for him. That will be able to protect any of his important combo pieces.
Qasali Pride Mage, I don't know if that's just one of the main board silver bullets that Ted is playing. It would seem like a weird card to bring out of the sideboard here. But
yeah, I'm wondering.
So maybe he's just left that in from the main.
It may be that he brought that in to destroy a potential Grafdigger's Cage if he was thinking that far ahead. But
that could be that would be a proactive play on Ted's part.
So we'll see what Ryan does on his turn 3 here.
Looks like Ryan has a Future Sight Tarmogoyf in hand, if I'm seeing that correctly.
Yeah, he definitely has that.
Which, by the way, looks a little bit like a Kavu Predator.
So Ryan will drop to 13 here with the Shock Land. It looks like he has a Pithing Needle in hand on Ryan's end, so that also a tool to stop the combo.
Yeah, Pithing Needle definitely a good card here.
Not in the face of Qasali Pride Mage, however.
Yeah. Of course, you can always name Qasali Pride Mage.
Ooh. So Ryan has a Kolaghan's Command in hand here, which he's probably going to use to destroy this Spellskite. Right, yeah. So he's going to make Ted discard his 1 card that he's drawn and destroy the Spellskite.
Yeah, that's very good. It's unclear. I don't know. I think it could have been nice to shock one of these creatures. These creatures are hitting for quite a lot of damage with the Exalted. That Pride Mage got in for 4, but I also do like discarding a card there. The only trouble is in a deck with Chord of Calling, you gotta possibly plan for your opponent to be playing a card like Loxodon Smiter or Obstinate Baloth because they can chord for it in response to the discard effects. But I do like the discard there still.
So it looks like Ted has another land in hand and 1 unknown. He is attacking for a decent amount here. The double Exalted trigger definitely pumping up that Pride Mage.
Yeah, that Pride Mage would put Ryan to 5 if he can't answer it.
So we see an attack. He's responding to the Exalted triggers.
So maybe we'll see a Kolaghan's Command here if he's responding.
Second one. Yeah, he does have that.
Is that a Vizier of Remedies in Ted's hand?
Well, it's definitely better than his land. Yes, it is a Vizier. Yeah, so our stream provider misunderstood you, Psychotic. You're correct. If he used Kolaghan's Command to try to shock a creature, he would have been able to redirect that damage from the Kolaghan's Command to the Spellskite before it resolved, which is why he chose to opt to have Ted discard there.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
So Ryan is going to go with Collective Brutality here to take out the
not
Vizier.
escalate it. He'll play a Tarmogoyf.
All right, so Ted playing off the top again. He finds the second Vizier.
Okay, well that's the first step.
Looks like Ryan has Pithing Needle, Death Shadow, and one other card in hand currently. It was a Street Wraith, which he'll cycle. And he's drawn what looks like another Death Shadow. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain on the redirection of modal spells. I don't know the exact wording of Spellskite. It may require a single target. You may be able to redirect one of the modes. I'm not entirely certain.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I was incorrect earlier. I do not think that you can. I don't think that shocking there makes sense because yes, I believe you can redirect both the shock, and obviously the art. You can redirect two spells from the same. You can redirect two modes from the same spell, but I guess we'll have to see what our resident judge Scott says.
So Ryan here has deployed the Pithing Needle and his Death Shadow. Ted still only one card in hand, Vizier in play. I'm assuming that Pithing Needle is naming Devoted Druid to prevent the infinite mana.
And this looks like a pretty tough position for Ted here. He's presenting lethal damage, forcing Ted to block at least one of those creatures.
The unfortunate thing for Ted here is, even if he does draw the second part of his, well, first off, the second part of his combo is locked off by Pithing Needle. If that wasn't the case, he wouldn't be able to use it because it doesn't have haste. And thirdly, since he's out of cards, he wouldn't have anything to do with his infinite mana. So, things not looking great.
So what are some ways Ted could feasibly get back in this game? I can't actually think of any.
Maybe back-to-back paths off the top. That would give him some breathing room at least.
I'm thinking if he, let's see, what is the Goyf a 6/7? So I guess
it looks like it's a 5/6 according to the die
5/6.
there.
Yep.
So here he's going to double jump, I believe, or perhaps.
So that'll put.
Okay, so he played a kitchen Finks last turn.
That'll put Ted to 6 after the Finks trigger. Is that right? What is the Pithing Needle naming? I believe the Pithing Needle named Devoted Druid, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it did name Devoted Druid. So it looks like Ted is looking at the writing on the wall here. He's going to need definitely some removal to give him some breathing room, and even then, if he doesn't have it this turn, his life total is going to be exceedingly low. Dead to a Bolt or a Kolagon's Command, which we already know Ryan has. Does not seem to be happy with whatever card's in hand. He's just going to pass the turn.
So Ted is not dead yet.
Okay, so Ted's going to cord for one here.
So
what options does he have?
I don't know. Whatever one drop he gets is going to have to block the Death Shadow.
Right. He's going to get birds. Okay.
So the advantage of doing that like that is that he still has a Kitchen Finks live on board when after this combat step.
Right.
So that's not terrible.
So he drops to 2, only 3 mana. Not sure he's gonna. Yep, that's gonna be the game. All right. Well, a quick one here.
Yeah,
Ryan Kurz.
Certainly a pretty tough matchup for company.
Taking it down 2-0 seemed pretty textbook there. Well, since that was so fast, it will be a little while here before our next round, but stay tuned and thanks for watching, guys.